Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we've been hit by another case of Elon time again, because the full self-driving beta button is apparently still not coming this month. Elon filled us in via a few Twitter replies yesterday and essentially said that if things go according to plan, or if things are aspirational, then we should have the beta button out by next month, sometime in May. But the interesting thing is how he kind of separated the full self-driving subscription as saying that is a for sure thing happening next month, which we've been hearing about for several quarters now. He loves saying couple months away, couple months away. Now he seems to be a bit more clear on it, saying for sure next month, and that gives me somewhat hope, because honestly, I've seen lots of footage of the FSD beta. It's very impressive, but of course still has a lot to learn, and it definitely needs to get a lot better before they can officially roll it out to basically anyone who's purchased or soon subscribed to full self-driving. It's a really impressive feature, and I'm guessing that for the first few months that this is out, potentially even for the first few years, it's still going to technically be a level 2 autonomous driving system, as in, yeah, the car can handle turns, it can go through roundabouts, it can stop at stoplights, and basically require no interventions to go completely to your destination. But the only thing that keeps it a level 2 system is that they are still going to require you to keep your eyes on the road, keep your hand near the steering wheel, or actively tell the car, hey, I'm still paying attention. The only way Tesla could start stretching into level 3 autonomous driving is if at any point during the journey it started saying, okay, we are confident in the software enough now that you don't have to look at the road, you can look at something else, you could activate Tesla Theater on the display, you could browse the web as the car was driving, and level 3 systems do technically require you to take over and take control in some instances, but as you guys are kind of picking up, the different levels of autonomous driving are a bit confusing and somewhat vague, and I think there's a pretty clear reason why no car really on the road today qualifies as level 3, because it requires you to intervene sometimes, but in other times the software says, yeah, you're fine, just go look on your phone or go look at a screen. Most of the time, if a car company has developed an autonomous driving system that they're not confident enough to say you can go to sleep or you can look at something else, they're not going to also tell you, well, in certain circumstances you can look away, but get ready to take control at any time. Kind of a difficult selling point. But the way Tesla could eventually get there with level 3 is if perhaps one day, this would be kind of a dream scenario for me, in a not too distant future they could say, if your car is on autopilot on the freeway, okay, so it's not navigating intersections or going on roundabouts, it's basically just staying in your lane, navigating around slower traffic and taking the right exit ramps, and while it's in that mode, they say, okay, when your car is in motion and you're on the freeway, we have decided from, billions of miles of collected data that this is safe enough and we are comfortable with you looking away or looking at your phone and looking at the display. But as soon as the car starts taking an exit, that's when we require you to supervise. Even if the beta is out and the car is able to drive itself and make turns and all that, you just have to oversee it, and the software on Tesla's screen isn't going to let you bring up things like Tesla Theater and play movies and stuff and know that the driver's not paying attention. That, of course, would be bad. So most people are probably assuming, though, Tesla would rather go straight from level 2 to level 4 and just say, okay, a human has to be there legally, but the vast majority of circumstances, the car can drive itself and you can look away whether you're on the freeway or not. And then also with level 4, you would also be able to have the vehicle drive itself around with no person in the driver's seat within certain jurisdictions. Level 5 would involve the car being able to drive itself anywhere, doesn't have to be geo-fenced into a certain demographic. So level 5, I think we've got a long way to go. Level 3, though, I don't know, maybe in the next year or two. The most interesting part to me, though, is figuring out the price point of the full self-driving subscription, which I've definitely done plenty of videos on in this channel in the past, but I'm already seeing a few people like Golly from Hyperchange talk about how they think once the beta starts rolling out to everybody, there's going to be yet another big full self-driving price hike. And on one side of the spectrum, I kind of get it. Tesla is well aware that as the full self-driving software gets better, there are going to be more people who believe in it, and once more people start seeing the results and seeing how good it is, they're going to want to buy it, and once there's more demand for it, Tesla wants to charge a higher price because basically they want to reward people who are willing to pay for the beta and pay for a unfinished experience early, because they're giving Tesla upfront cash, whether it's $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, and once this beta starts rolling out to everybody, it could jump up again to $12,000, $13,000, or $15,000. But the important thing to remember about the subscription is, at least according to Elon, they still plan on allowing you to buy full self-driving outright, and if they're launching a subscription but you can still buy it outright at the same time, they have to be really, really careful with how they're they price the subscription to not make the buying outright option feel completely useless. And honestly, if the full self-driving subscription is lower than $150 a month, it does kind of make buying it outright somewhat pointless if you consider average length of car ownership in the US is around 8 years. So you can kind of do the math on how much the FSD subscription would cost you per year. And on top of that, is the subscription going to lock you into a certain type of contract, or is it going to be month to month? Because I feel like even if the FSD subscription is $200, $300 a month, although they don't lock you into any type of long-term contract, I still could see a bunch of people deciding to not pay outright for the FSD subscription because they don't always go on big road trips where FSD makes a big difference. Instead of dropping $10,000 or potentially $12,000 one time with the car, instead they would rather just spend $300 a month once or twice a year on those long drives where having the car drive you is going to be very, very convenient. Whereas there are other types of the year where you're just kind of doing basic drives to the grocery store and back, and you don't really mind driving yourself in those instances because it isn't going to be that big of a burden for you. It's not going to be a big inconvenience, but instead dropping $600 or $900 on a monthly subscription just a couple of months out of the year whenever you are using the car all the time, I could see a lot of people taking advantage of that. And the other thing to remember is the full self-driving package, if you buy it outright, sticks with the car. It doesn't stick with your account. And that in itself has turned a lot of people away from paying outright for it, whereas if the subscription allows you to basically apply it to whatever Tesla you have at that time, you can kind of pick and choose when you want to utilize FSD and then turn it off when you don't feel like you're using it. And then it becomes very, very difficult for the $10,000 full self-driving package to seem worth it, unless you're just the type of person to take long commutes and drive all the time, and having the car drive you everywhere seamlessly and safely, that would actually end up being worth it because you plan on keeping the car for longer than 8 years. Although, to be fair, I know a lot of Tesla owners that are probably imagining trading in their Tesla or selling it off and upgrading to something else in the future with better range or more practicality like the Cybertruck. So all that in itself makes the full self-driving package feel very, very difficult to justify. In my opinion, it would almost make more sense for Tesla to just kind of go all in on the services model and just basically make the full self-driving subscription the only way to get it, and buying it outright might make sense for some, but not all. Either way, I see a lot of huge companies going forward with the services revenue, and I do think Tesla could potentially get a lot of revenue if they made the price of the FSD subscription pretty low. That would, of course, widen the user base, and Tesla could collect a lot of miles driven and get a lot of edge cases to make their artificial intelligence and machine learning better. Sounds like Elon actually wants to have a dedicated AI day at some point in this year. He said in July, but he delayed Battery Day literally for a year. So don't be shocked if AI Day doesn't even come until 2022. But I'm very curious now to see that essentially the launch of the turning on city streets that we're seeing people in the beta utilize right now and the launch of the subscription model could be neck and neck. They might be pretty close together. And it's my hope that at the earnings call we get at the end of this month, that's when maybe they could announce the pricing of the subscription and maybe the terms and conditions of, you have to stay committed to the package for 1 year, or can it just be month to month, or are there discounts for an annual subscription model, or do you have different tiers of full self-driving so that you can apply it to multiple vehicles instead of having to apply it to just one at a time? There's all kinds of questions I have, and I hope that investors ask the right one. But at the end of the day, I'm curious what you guys think FSD subscription is going to cost. When do you think the beta button is going to roll out to more people? And also, bigger question, at the end of the day, when do you think Teslas are going to hit level 3 autonomous driving? Level 3 as in they start actively saying you don't have to pay attention, you don't have to keep your hand on the wheel, and you can just start relaxing in your car and do whatever you feel like, because that sounds amazing, but they're going to want to make sure it's safe. So thank you all for watching. Hope you have an excellent rest of your day. Take care.